Okay, sorry about that. Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday and happy Thanksgiving to you guys. Hope you have a fantastic day tomorrow. Appreciate doing this a day early. We will be practicing tomorrow still, but once practice is over, we'll let everybody go home with their families. Excited about Saturday's game, obviously. We've talked a lot with our team about the history of the Cup, about the game itself, about all the things that go into rivalries in general, as well as specifically this one. And as we lead our team into Tempe, we recognize that it's been a while since we've gotten a victory there. So we've got to play our best game on Saturday, and that's our expectation.
Open up for questions. We'll start with Justin, and then just get this out of the way. What's your favorite Thanksgiving dish?
Stuffing, no question.
Also, the game last year, finally beating them and ending the season right. What did that win mean for your program, and how did it set you guys up for this year?
Well, for me, it was the second one that we played in, right? Hoods, and then the other ones the other five before that or so that we weren't winning. But for us, it was a huge win for the program to get the Cup here in Tucson. It was the first time, I believe, that the Cup was here with Dr. Robbins, with Dave. That was a big deal. None of our players beat the team up north until last year. So that was big. And then it kind of, gave us we won 2 out of last 3 last year. And then we've been able to really now at this point in time win 6 of our last 7 home games, using that one as the first one. And that was important as well. So altogether, I would say it was a nice, let's call it momentum push into this offseason. And we're excited now where we're at now week 12 of this year.
You mentioned
Troy and then Brian.
You mentioned the 13 guys that were on the roster for that 2020 game. This is going to be their last Territorial Cup. What have you seen from them this week so far?
So far practice has been very animated, very heated, a lot of fun to coach. We only had one practice in full pads yesterday. We'll be in pads today. And then we had a really good practice yesterday. I would expect to have a really good practice today. We conditioned well yesterday. Our guys are in a good place mentally, physically, emotionally. And those 13 guys, I know it means something too. And then we'll see. I'm sure it means something to all 110, though.
Brian and then David.
2 things. One, is there any plans on going beyond just white uniforms? Is there going to talk about doing like a color versus color for this game?
Yeah, I don't know what we're wearing. Maybe white and red. But I don't know. Maybe white on white. I'm not sure. I think it is white on white. Okay. It is white on white, yeah.
And last year, there was some fans were a little upset to see a large section of ASU fans in the middle of the student section. Do you guys have any say on where tickets are at the opposing team's field?
Yeah, no, we don't. I don't know how that happened. I remember that last year. They must have bought them, on StubHub or whatever it might have been. No, and as we talked about that Colorado game where our fans were actually almost not in the stadium. So they can put you wherever they want to put you. They can block it out, I believe, any way they want to do it. I would imagine at this game they don't really put us in the best seats, would be my guess. I don't remember where we sat 2 years ago. That was 2 years ago was a whole another world, felt like. So I'm not sure we're going to have great seats. That'll be my prediction. But hopefully we'll be able to play well.
David and then Michael.
I just had 2 questions. What are, just the core principles of the way that you want your wide receivers to block in the passing game, especially on those edge passes that you guys throw are so successful?
Is there, somewhere where that originated, the concept of how you want that to take place in your offense?
Yeah, well, back in the day, let's call it 2009, when I was the offense coordinator in Minnesota, and then Miami after that, we used to cut on the perimeter all the time. And that was a big part of our perimeter screens. We would always go for the legs, we would always cut. You can't do that anymore. So we had to reevaluate how we were going to block those perimeter screens. We had to take a different approach. We had to take a different We used to cut and go outside. Now we kick out and go inside. So it's kind of a different approach. I know Montana's was outside. It was a great job by Jacob. But for the most part, you got to fit it up right. You got to be willing. You got to keep your feet running the whole time. You can't ever stop your feet because that's how injuries will occur. And then you got to be able to run them into the sideline if you can. You got to get your hands inside. And you've got to do a tremendous job of making sure that if you're going to hit those perimeter screens, the timing of those screens, it starts with the ball placement. You got to have the ball, what I would say, 1 foot in front of the front shoulder pad. You got to be able to turn up when you catch it. And then you got to be able to make sure that, the kick-out block is successful.
And take us back to that moment last year in the tunnel after the game. Ricky hands you the trophy. I mean, just what you were feeling in that moment right there.
Yeah, it was really important for Ricky to have it first. I was happier for him that he got a chance to hold the trophy, and he said that meant the world to him. And then, when he handed it to me, it was pretty amazing. These games mean a ton. There's a lot of work involved. Now, last year there was a lot of emotion.
It was the last game of the year, and I felt like we were turning the corner. And I think that my elation at that moment had a lot to do with just feeling like the program was turning, not just the one victory. But it's a super cool moment when you get to hold the trophy up. And when you get to hold the Rivalry Trophy up, that means a ton to the state of Arizona. We've been able to really do a fantastic job of recruiting the state of Arizona, owning the state of Arizona. I don't think there's any question about that. The best players in Arizona either come to Arizona or they leave Arizona. So that's been it's been a good sign moving forward that we'll continue to recruit that area, those areas at the highest level.
Michael and then Justin.
Kenny Dillingham has had a lot of injuries to deal with this year, especially at the quarterback position. You can relate to that from your first year here. What are just the biggest challenges that he faces in the situation that he's in? Can you relate at all? Kind of anything in that kind of year zero?
Yeah, I don't know. I think year zero is different when you come off of a 9-touchdown defeat versus a team that's been to bowl games 4 out of 5 years or 4 out of 6 years. We were on a 12-game losing streak here when we got here. It was a little bit different situation. I would say I don't know their scenario. It sounds like Jaden Rashada is back, so I'm sure they're excited about that. It seems like their running back's back. So I think it's always a challenge when you deal with injuries. It's always a challenge when you deal with trying to put in a new culture and establish it how you want it to be. And I think that's what he's trying to do there. I think he's coming in or coming from working for some of the best coaches that I know. Dan Lanning did a fantastic job. You look at Mike Norvell and what he's done at Florida State. You look at Gus Malzahn, who I have the utmost respect for. I mean, those are the guys he's worked for. So he's putting in his culture based upon the experiences he's had with them, along with his own beliefs. And I think that injuries are part of the game. It feels like always that first year it happens more. I don't know why, but maybe you're just trying to figure out your program and figure out who you're going to play with, and you're more apt to make changes with people. But I think his team's pretty healthy right now. And, they've won 2 out of the last 4 games, beat Washington State, beat UCLA, and we know we've got to work cut out for us.
They've utilized the swing gate, I guess you'd call it, as a way to offset their quarterback injuries or just throw some wrinkles at the opposition. What's the best approach defensively if they start doing stuff like that?
Well, Michael, should we give him the game plan?
Or what are the keys, I guess?
I would say I think what you've got to do is you've got to be able to align to execute. That would be my answer to that question. You have to, if they're going to give you unique formations or be able to, let's say, try to find mismatches, which is what those formations try to do, you need to align to execute your defense. And that means you've got to find who's eligible, who's not eligible, who can go out on a route, who can't. What plays do they run from those formations? What's the best way to match up in those formations and make sure that you keep everything in front of you? The biggest concern you have is when plays go behind you. So you've got to, if teams are going to try to get you in those formations, you've got to be able to at least balance it out, manage it, and stay, I would say, stay in neutral in those situations.
Justin and then David for a final question.
I believe the first time Tradent Stephens played defensive back in a game was the game in 2020. What have you seen from him for the last few years, and what has he meant to the rise of the program?
Well, he's a captain. We brought him to media day. He's probably one of the best players on our football team. He's gained, I think, 18 pounds since that day of, December of 2020. I think he's up to like 196 pounds right now. I think he played in that game at 178, 176, something to that effect. He's made a huge play on the ball the other day, but every day he is an elite practice player. I would say he's probably the best practice player we have, or one of. He runs to the ball on every play. He controls the huddle. He makes sure that we get lined up properly. He is somebody that can play all positions. He can play nickel. He can play corner. He can play safety. And he's just done a fantastic job for us. And I think as he continues to grow one more year, he'll be an elite DB in this league, or the Big 12 league, I guess.
And finally, David.
Jed, former Ohio State coach Jim Tressel used to always have this mindset that, yeah, we might be playing Iowa this week or Illinois or Minnesota, but we're always thinking about Michigan at the end. Do you prescribe to that type of thinking where he did have Michigan period every game, right?
Yeah.
I mean, something devoted to that game. I just wanted to see your thoughts on that kind of process and building up to this.
No, I don't. I believe every weekend is a championship opportunity. Every weekend, every game is the most important game, and then the next game is the most important game. So this is a huge game. This is a rivalry game. This has a uniqueness about it emotionally. But regarding our preparation on a weekly basis, it's all for the opponent that we are preparing for that week. And I don't have the capacity to be able to think of two games or two teams every week. It takes all of me each week. And, Sunday's my recovery moment before I have to go back and focus again on the next week's opponent. So all of my brain power is right now on the team up north.
All right, that's our time.